Privileges. We have seen certain privileges so far. We already know that certain objects require certain privileges in order to do certain things. So what's a privilege? Privilege is a special permission that a user requires to do a certain operation. Yesterday we saw that we gave a select privilege to a specific user so that that user can do a select on a specific table. So select is a privilege. So what are the privileges that we know? Select is a privilege. Any other privilege that we know yesterday or we discussed yesterday? I think delete is something that also maybe we have discussed. Deleting from a table. Any other you can think of now? Update and update, insert. Okay, create also, let us say create. So these are, if somebody wants to create an object, he would have to have a privilege of create table. If somebody wants to do a select on a specific table, he will have to have the select privilege. So I'm going to categorize privileges into certain categories. So these are select, insert, update, delete privileges. And on this side, I'm going to say create or alter or drop. Do you see a little bit of a difference in the privileges there? So if somebody has a privilege called as a create table, so this is a distinction, then that user will be able to create tables. Unless and until that privilege has been granted to that user will not be able to create tables. Similarly, create view, create sequence, create synonym, create DB link, database link. So anything that you would like to create, you need to have that privilege. So there are so many privileges that are there in Oracle. Just we know 6 or 7 different objects: the tables, the views, the synonyms, the procedures, the functions. All these are different objects. To create a procedure, if you know how to write a PL/SQL program and you want to create a procedure, you need to have the privilege of create procedure assigned to you. Now, who is going to assign the privilege to you? We'll see that. A powerful user. But these are the privileges that are required. And as you can see, the distinction is kind of very simple. I'm going to say that these are the privileges that are given on a specific object. They are given on a specific object. That means what? The employee table. I am giving you a select privilege on the employee table, which already exists. I am giving you a delete privilege on the jobs table. So these privileges are dependent on specific object, or they are related to specific object, and that's why these privileges are called as object privileges. On the other hand, these privileges are not dependent on a specific object. It's a privilege to just say create table. Which table, we don't know. It's a privilege to alter table. It's a privilege. So these are called as system privileges. These are called as system privileges, and these are the only 2 types of privileges that you will see in Oracle: object level privileges and system level privileges. So we'll talk about the object level privileges first. Okay, by the way, I think I have made a mistake here. This alter is, obviously that's what I was thinking, alter is on this side, because you allow a specific table to be altered. So alter is an object privilege, not a system privilege here. So what are the, let me draw the whole list here. Select is there, I'm just referring to my notes here. Select, insert, update, delete, alter is there. Then there is another privilege called as index. That means you have the permission to create an index on the table. Index privilege means you have the permission to create an index on that specific table. So that is another privilege. And there is one more which is rarely seen: references. So I have a references privilege on the employee table. It means what? It means that I can have another table on which I'm going to create a foreign key which will reference to the primary key of the employee table. That is what the references is. You use the word references when you are creating a foreign key. So that is what the references privilege is. It means that if I have a references privilege on the employee table, let me repeat this. If I have references privilege on the employee table, that means I can create a foreign key on any other table which will reference to the primary key of the employee table. That is what the reference is. So these are all object privileges. Object privileges for a table. So what is the object table? Now object privileges for views. Let us just talk about the objects now. Okay, these are all the object level privileges at the table level. So this is table. These are only tables. Now views. Views also have very similar object level privileges. They have select, they have insert, they have update, they have delete, and they also have references. So most of the things are there. Indexes. Index is not a privilege on a view because you cannot create an index on a view. Index is created mostly on the table. So these are the object privileges for a view. Now take another, if you are a PLSQL programmer, so let us say on a PLSQL programming side you have a procedure. We have seen yesterday a procedure is basically a PLSQL program. So what can you have, or what privileges can anybody have on a procedure? A procedure you cannot do a select on a procedure, you cannot do an insert on a procedure. You usually do insert, update, delete, select only on a table or a view. So having a insert, update, delete, select privilege on a procedure doesn't make any sense. It's kind of illogical. So the object level privileges for a procedure are very specific, and those are execute. I think that is the only privilege that you have. And then there is a debug privilege. We will not go into the debug right now. It will allow you to debug the procedure there. But execute is the procedure. Execute is a privilege that is the object privilege given on a procedure or a function or a package. So all those are PLSQL programs. Functions, procedures, packages, and triggers also, by the way. Triggers. So triggers, packages, functions, procedures, they have the execute privilege. They don't have the insert, update, delete. We are still talking about the object level privileges. Now how is the object level privilege granted? So this is the syntax that we have also seen yesterday, but you say grant a privilege on an object to a user. So this is the privilege, this is the object and user. So grant execute on a procedure, which is what we had created yesterday, let us say proc1, to a user called as Shekhar. This is the syntax for granting a specific object level privilege on a specific object to a specific user. This is what the object level privilege granting is. Just like grant, there is another command which we saw also, revoke. Revoke, execute on, so this is a privilege, on the procedure name from, and here instead of the word to we have a different here, from Shekhar. So this is that user and a semicolon. So grant and revoke are the only two commands that we need to memorize, but the syntax has to be remembered, that privilege, object and a user. So this is how you grant object level privileges, and this is how you revoke object level privileges. Now there is one very interesting thing about granting a privilege. So now we know what an object level privilege is, and it is different for different types of objects. For procedures there is no select object level privilege. Now there is one grant command that I am going to type here. Grant select on, let us say table is XYZ, to Shekhar with grant option. I will write it down here. Grant option. Okay. This is the command that I execute. I am a user called as again, give me names, Mano, right? Okay, I have remembered your name now. So this is my database focus1. Inside my focus1 I have a user called as Manav AV, and then there is another user called as Shekhar. Manav has a table whose name is XYZ. This is the name of the table that Manav has created. Now what Manav is, by the way, I did not mention one point earlier, that the privileges are granted only by the owner of the table, and certain other privileged, highly privileged guys, the DBAs and all that. But the grants and revokes, both of them are given only by the owner of the object. So Manav is the owner of the table XYZ. He has created that table, and therefore he comes and executes this command, grant select on XYZ to user Shekhar with grant option. The moment he grants me a select privilege, Shekhar can log in. I can log in and I can say select star from manav.xyz. I will be able to select it. That is absolutely fine up till this point. Then what is the purpose of the grant option? The purpose of the grant option is that now I am not just giving Shekhar a privilege to select from my table. I am giving him one extra privilege to grant the same privilege to somebody else. So now consider that there is another user called as let us say Abhishek now, and this user is just sitting there. The Manav has no no knowledge of user Abhishek. He has just granted the user Shekhar a select privilege on his own table, but with grant option, and therefore now user Shekhar comes in, he logs in and he types the command grant select on, I will write it down, grant select on manav.xyz to Abhishek. Why and will this be successful? Yes, this will be successful only because of the grant option that has been granted to him. Can Shekhar do this thing now? Grant delete? He cannot do that because he has not been granted the delete privilege with the grant option. So this is something that is very important to understand, that the grant option allows a user to grant that privilege to the next user. And therefore now Abhishek can log in and he can just say select star from manav.xyz and it will work. So usually where this is helpful for in a typical data center, that you have junior level operators or the, let us say, junior level DBAs. So I am a senior level DBA. I'm a Manav and I have quite a few tables. I grant it to a junior level DBA and just tell him that whenever required you grant it to other people. Okay, and then therefore those privileges are granted to all other users. So I am delegating my work to somebody else. That is with the grant option. There is a problem with the grant option though. What is the problem? If tomorrow Shekhar leaves the organization and his account is gone, his account is dropped. So if this is dropped, all the privileges that are given or granted by Shekhar, they are also gone. So that means if tomorrow user Shekhar is dropped, then Abhishek is helpless. Abhishek cannot select from Manav's XYZ table. That is the main problem with the grant option. So this is the concept of a grant option here.
So if Abhishek grants that particular
select,
Huh?
Abhishek cannot grant it because Abhishek has been given only the select privilege here. Select here, not delete. Select. He has privilege to select from.
No, if he has that grant option.
He doesn't have a grant option, na? He doesn't have the grant. If he has the grant option, then he can, yes. Any privilege that has been granted to you with the grant option, then you can give it to you. Okay, now can this guy give it with the grant option? No, he cannot delegate his authority to somebody else. I have given my delegation to you that you do my work, you grant it, and then you give it to him. That will not work. Okay, only has to be done by the owner there. If the grant option is given by the owner.
Okay, you said grant and revoke only be done by the owner.
The owner, yeah.
Okay, if Shekhar, doesn't want to show that particular table within his privileged tables, so what he should?
Shekhar, is Shekhar the owner of the table?
No.
Okay.
The privileged one. Privileged for XYZ.
XYZ, Shekhar doesn't want to give it to?
No, Shekhar Nomo wants to access the XYZ table.
Shekhar doesn't want to access the XYZ table, so his select privilege has to be revoked.
By whom?
By Manav.
Okay.
By Manav.
Shekhar can't.
Shekhar, I cannot revoke my own privileges. I mean, it has been given to me. It has to be revoked by Manav. Yeah.
And can Shekhar grant it to all? Means grant select on manav.xyz to all?
To all, no. See, all is not a allowed keyword here. If you want to grant it to 100 users, he can do it, but he will have to type the command grant 100 times. And this is where the programming kind of comes in. I mean, you may want to kind of write it in a loop and all those things. If you have 100 users, you will have to do it.
Can be done by Manav.
That can, no. The command can never have this word.
So
Manav wants to give it to 100 users. He will have to also type the command 100 times.
we can write public then.
So now here is the thing. There is a word called as public here. Public is everybody in that database.
That can be done by both.
That can be done by both. That can be done by both. But public is basically everybody. If you want to give it to only 20 users out of 300 users, then you have to execute the command grant 20 times. But then now that is going to bring us to our next topic of roles. This is too much of typing here, and obviously there are going to be thousands of users and thousands of tables, and if I want to grant a select privilege on one table to 1,000 users, I have to grant that. I have to execute the grant command 1,000 times. So what should we do? That is our discussion for roles. But this is what the grant option thing is. Can you increase the heat now?